There are about 100 suburbs around Atlanta, Georgia, but in this video, we're going over the top 5 suburbs for 2024. And the first one is Sandy Springs, Georgia. Sandy Springs is just north of Atlanta, which gives it a really good mix of the urban feel and the suburban feel. This is a great suburb, especially for young professionals or people who want to be close to the big economy of Atlanta but still have some of that suburban feel that you would get away from Atlanta. Sandy Springs is a great mix of the two, and for the most part, this city is an extension of the city of Atlanta. So there are a lot of high-rise buildings, there are a lot of urban feeling parts to Sandy Springs, and there are a lot of big businesses in Sandy Springs. Each of the 5 suburbs that we'll talk about in this video are the best at a specific category when it comes to living in Atlanta. And for Sandy Springs, what it is best at is having that mix of the urban and suburban feel. In addition to that, Sandy Springs has a great downtown area. They have a big green lawn area for people to hang out or picnic or throw the ball, and it's right there in front of City Hall. And then behind City Hall in the Sandy Springs City Center is a bunch of shops and restaurants. There are some condos, so you could technically live right in walking distance to the city center. I know for many people, this is something that would be a big plus to be able to live, work, and play right within the same area. And this is certainly possible in Sandy Springs. When it comes to home values, the average sold price in Sandy Springs is probably about 700,000 to 800,000. Now, you can certainly find homes as low as 300,000 in Sandy Springs, but it's not something that I would recommend. You're certainly not going to find a gem in Sandy Springs at 300,000, but you could find homes there, especially for investment purposes. Sandy Springs is a great city for that because it's so close to Atlanta. To find a home in the 300s that you could do some remodeling to and turn around and sell would be a great idea, especially in this city. Overall, the vibe of Sandy Springs is similar to Atlanta, but it's a little quieter than Atlanta. It's a little more suburban than Atlanta. So some parts of Sandy Springs have that urban feel, and then the farther out, more distant parts of Sandy Springs have that suburban feel. Something to note though about Sandy Springs is that there are really not a lot of young families living here. And one of the reasons for that is because the public school system in Sandy Springs is kind of non-existent. There really isn't very good public schools in Sandy Springs. So if you're looking for a suburb that has excellent quality schools, Sandy Springs is not really the best place for that. The next suburb on the list for top 5 suburbs of Atlanta, Georgia in 2024 is Powder Springs, Georgia. If you're thinking about moving to Powder Springs or any of these suburbs that we mentioned in the video, feel free to call, text, or email me anytime. I'm the one who answers the phone. I'm the one who answers those emails. I would certainly love to help you out with your moving needs to the Metro Atlanta area. But Powder Springs is certainly one of the best suburbs. And the thing that Powder Springs is the best at is having excellent home values. In an area where most of the home values are about 500,000 or 600,000, Powder Springs stands out as having an average home value of about 350,000. So in the last 60 to 90 days, I've seen many homes being sold in Powder Springs right around that 350 mark. This is a great deal, especially considering how close it is to neighboring Marietta, where the average home value is about 450,000. As interest rates increase and as home values increase, it's a really great find to see a city like Powder Springs where homes are still affordable. And unlike Sandy Springs, you can find good schools in Powder Springs. They're not quite as good as some of the other big suburbs of Metro Atlanta, but the schools here are getting better every year. And then also there is a city center in Powder Springs. It's not quite as big. Overall, the vibe of Powder Springs is kind of quiet. It's a quiet suburban town. It is just west of Marietta and it's in Cobb County, but it still has kind of a small town feel to it. So there are a lot of open spaces. You can get a lot of land for your home in Powder Springs because the homes are not on top of each other. And this also means that the city center for Powder Springs is kind of on the small side. There's not a whole bunch of things to do in Powder Springs. Like people don't move here for the amount of things to do here. And they also don't move to Powder Springs for the excellent economy in this city. Most of the residents who live in Powder Springs tend to work in a different suburb. Maybe they're going to Atlanta, maybe they're traveling to Marietta, but Powder Springs is not really a great suburb for finding economy. It's really a great suburb for getting away from the crowd and getting away from the amount of like dense population that you would find in Atlanta. Okay, number 3 on the list of top 5 suburbs is Alpharetta, Georgia, which is everybody's favorite. Alpharetta is certainly a great city. It is the most desirable city to live in all of the suburbs around Atlanta. And for that reason, the home values in Alpharetta are much higher than some of the other suburbs around Atlanta. In the last 90 days, the average sold price in Alpharetta is about 750 to 800,000. But what Alpharetta does the best is having one of the best looking cities. It's certainly one of the best kept cities. When you drive through Alpharetta, you can very easily tell that the city does a great job of taking care of all of the different properties, especially the commercial properties and the public areas. The public parks here are some of the best. And then the downtown part of Alpharetta is probably the best in this suburb compared to the other suburbs. There's tons of shopping and restaurants in downtown Alpharetta. In fact, this has some of the best restaurants in all of Metro Atlanta. Downtown Alpharetta is at the intersection of Highway 9 and Old Milton Parkway, and there is also a trail from the downtown area to the Avalon. The Avalon is also in Alpharetta, and it has some of the best shopping. There are a bunch of great stores here, like the Peloton store, the Apple store, the Tesla store. There are some great restaurants here. One of my favorites is Cafe Intermezzo, and there are also some condos and houses right around the Avalon as well. The houses on the far western part of the Avalon go for about $1 million, and the condos that are in the northern part of the Avalon sell for about 700 to 800,000. Also, the public schools in Alpharetta are some of the best in the state. This is a big reason why so many people move to this area. The tech industry in Alpharetta is growing every year, so there are lots of tech jobs provided in Alpharetta. So when you combine this with the excellent appearance of the city, the excellent downtown area, the public schools, but I wouldn't say that Alpharetta has the best schools in all of Metro Atlanta. I would reserve that mark for Suwanee, Georgia. Suwanee is in Gwinnett County, and this is number 4 on the list of the top 5 suburbs. Gwinnett is known for having some of the best schools in the entire state, and Suwanee is at the heart of Gwinnett County. No matter what part of Suwanee you're living in, you're most likely going to be in a 9 or a 10 out of 10 school district. Also, Suwanee has a great downtown area as well in town center. They have an amphitheater there with a lot of green space, and also City Hall is in town center as well. Again, lots of shopping and restaurants there in town center, and town center is one of the highlights of living in Suwanee. For many of the residents of Suwanee and the surrounding cities, people will come to town center regularly, especially on nights and weekends. It's a very popular place to visit. Overall, the vibe of Suwanee is a very family-friendly kind of environment. The excellent schools here bring lots of young families, so in general, many of the amenities and many of the public areas, the parks, the commercial spaces are all geared towards these families who live in Suwanee. This might be one of the best suburbs for having family-friendly activities as well. In the last 60 days in this city, the average sold price is right around $600,000. This is kind of a typical normal price for many of the suburbs around Metro Atlanta, and the excellent schools and the excellent town center certainly help with the home values in this city. And then here is number 5 on the list of top 5 suburbs of Metro Atlanta. This city makes it on the list because it's overall the best city when it comes to school ratings and home values and city center. This city has it all. This city does the best job of encompassing all of these categories. There are people moving to this city every year, and it's growing all the time. And that city is Marietta, Georgia. If you want to know why so many people are moving to Marietta, Georgia, check out this video. I'll see you there.